I spent midnight at a Missouri amusement park. 5 disturbing rules I was forced to follow. The emptiness of the amusement park screamed at me in the moonlight. A Ferris wheel loomed, casting eerie shadows on the ground like skeletal fingers grasping at the night. The quiet was so thick, it was as if the whole world held its breath. My heart raced, thumping like a drum in my chest, with each pulse echoing in the stillness. What secrets lay behind those brightly painted gates? Why was I there, staring at a place that should have been filled with laughter and life but lay cold and dormant instead? A sign flickered ominously, light sputtering like a dying firefly. "Enter at your own risk," it said. My legs felt heavy but also drawn toward the darkness, curiosity pulling me deeper into the park. Each step felt like crossing into another realm, one where rules were twisted like funhouse mirrors. There were whispers, 2 voices that rode the wind, a low murmur that tickled my ears but ceased when I drew closer. A lump rose in my throat. The first rule hit me like a slap: no talking after midnight. What? We weren't allowed to speak. The absurdity sent a chill down my spine. Wasn't this supposed to be a place of joy? I opened my mouth to protest, but I quickly remembered the heaviness in the air. Instead, I heard it, a breath, just over my shoulder, soft and nearly drowned by the rustling leaves. I turned, but only shadows greeted me. The second rule was even more disturbing: follow the path, do not stray. My eyes scanned the grounds. Shadows danced in the corners of my vision, and the path was lined with flickering lanterns. But what lay off the path? I imagined twisted trees and darkness, something far worse lurking just out of sight. My skin prickled and I wasn't alone in my dread. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, as if a ghost was watching. Then came the third rule that made the air chillier: smile at all times. Smile? I shot a glance at my friend, the one person I hadn't expected to share this with, and her unease mirrored mine. A forced grin took shape on her lips, not a happy one but a nervous twitch. The disproportionate cheeriness felt strange, like a mask barely covering fear. I caught a glimpse of others, 2 eyes wide, smiles stretching taut. Were they afraid? About then, I felt it, a prickling sensation across my spine. Suddenly, like an unexpected bolt of lightning, the 4th rule slashed through the night air: only walk backward on the 3rd ride. My stomach dropped. Backward? It didn't make any sense, and yet, part of me was enthralled. My mind raced with horror and thrill, picturing the ride as horrid surprises viewed through a reversed perspective. It felt like we were being led deeper into madness, and my heart pounded a little faster. Before I could process it all, a boring void filled the space where laughter used to be. What awaited me beyond the last rule? Just as dread settled in, I felt another presence surge, tension thickening the air. A faint echo: was it laughter? Or screams? Did I dare to find out what Rule 5 was? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. What came next was an unsettling silence, the kind that sent waves of panic rolling through me. I turned around, ready to leave or confront whatever was haunting this place, only to find that the exit had vanished. Confusion set in as that smirked ghostly grin in my mind begged, what else could happen? What had I unleashed? The mystery clung to me like a dark shroud, and the real terror was just getting started. The air thickened with an overwhelming dread. My fingers trembled as I brushed against the cold metal of the Ferris wheel, its rusted structure groaning in protest as if aware of my hesitation. Every shadow seemed to pulse and breathe, taunting me. I glanced back, expecting my friend's reassuring presence, but the darkness whispered secrets that hinted she was already lost to this eerie realm. Get a grip, I scolded myself, but my voice was little more than a quivering echo swallowed by the night. Without the exit in sight, I had no choice but to continue on the path marked by those flickering lanterns. I had a decision to make: keep walking or risk wandering into the black pits that edged the path. A low laugh, or was it a scream? Snaked through the air, making the hairs on my neck stand up. My legs moved on instinct, the thrill of fear propelling me further into the park's jaws. Rule 5 materialized in my mind like a twisted puzzle begging to be solved. Don't break eye contact. How utterly ridiculous. With who? With what? My heart ricocheted against my ribs as the oppressive quiet closed around me. All my instincts screamed to flee, but that strange compulsion pulled me deeper. A chilling breeze gusted through, and just for a fleeting moment, I swore I saw a pair of glowing eyes flickering in the dark. I hesitated, fearing that moving would turn me into a target. Voices returned to my ears, low and sinister, weaving through the trees. I bit my lip, trying to grasp their meaning somewhere among the disembodied whispers. Look closer, they seemed to say, urging me on. I had to locate my friend before the darkness consumed us both. My breath quickened as I staggered into the heart of the park. The twisted attraction stood abandoned, a derelict carousel missing its horses. Instead, rusted skeletons hung like ghosts on its poles, beckoning me with their silent promises of joy long forgotten. Suddenly, my foot caught on something small, sun-bleached dull. It lay face down in the dirt, its porcelain features cracked and staring nowhere. Goosebumps raced across my arms as I turned it over, its empty eye sockets like black holes sucking away the light, and then I saw them, dark figures looming just outside the perimeter of the flickering lanterns, watching with hungry anticipation. I couldn't know, I shouldn't look away, yet the urge to look behind me surged within me. Don't break eye contact, I reminded myself, unable to shake the sinking feeling that this was all part of some horrible game. I could hear a faint melody, haunting and beautiful, drawing me towards one of the rides, the one I dreaded most. Would I dare approach? A tickling sensation began at the nape of my neck, spreading like creeping vines, urging me to move closer. As I approached the entrance, the sign flickered again, but this time it bore a new message: one ride for the brave, another for the foolish. My heart screamed to choose defeat and run far away, but that dark curiosity clawed at me, whispering promises of revelations lurking within the thrill. What awaited me inside? The sound of laughter twisted into screams, merging with the haunting music. A truth hung in the shadows, tantalizing but dangerous. Would stepping into that ride unravel the very fabric of this nightmare? With my breath caught in my throat, I took a step forward, only to freeze when I realized the shadows were creeping closer. What had I awakened? The shadows slithered along the ground like malevolent serpents drawn to my very essence. I clenched my fists, grounding myself in the moment. An urgent voice inside me screamed to run, to shatter the spell that kept me tethered to the entrance of the ride. But curiosity, that insidious beast, held me firm. What if my friend was inside? What if the answer lay waiting, shrouded in layers of darkness? With a deep breath, I forced myself to step inside. The air grew colder, wrapping around me like the icy grip of a long-forgotten ghost. The ride itself loomed ahead, its carriages swaying gently, as if inviting me with open arms despite the rust and decay. The fading lights flickered overhead, creating strange shapes that danced in my peripheral vision. I swallowed hard, trying to push back the nausea bubbling in my stomach. Suddenly, a scream pierced through the haze. It wasn't far away. Panic surged within me. Jessica. I called out, knowing deep down she wouldn't hear me. No answer came, only that haunting melody, seductive, dark, spiraling through the air, growing louder, urging me to take another step forward. I hesitated, my heart drumming louder than the music itself. The rules, I had to remember the rules. Rule 1, never enter alone. I shook my head, fighting to stay alert. This was no game. Yet, as I entered the ride, I was met with disarray: plush toys, missing limbs, shattered mirrors, and the remnants of a party long lost to time. Behind me, I heard a soft rustle. My heart pounded as I turned. The dark figures were closer now, their silhouettes merging with the shadows. We were playing a deadly game of cat and mouse. I felt their eyes on me, probing. "Stand still," ruled another voice from the depths of the ride, muffled but clear. I froze, instinctively holding my breath. A flash of movement caught my eye. There, in the fading light, a child-sized figure darted by, quick as lightning, with tangled hair whipping against the walls. Could it be Jessica? I blinked, straining to see through the darkness. The figure turned just enough for me to glimpse a familiar blue jacket before it slipped out of sight. My heart leapt. I tore toward the sound, crashing through the remnants of the ride. "Jessica! Wait! I'm coming!" My voice felt like a beacon, but the only response was the cacophony of echoes bouncing off the fractured walls. Something inside urged me deeper, into the mouth of the beast, where screams mingled with laughter, but then I saw it, the ride's main attraction, a gaping maw of a coal-black tunnel. The darkness felt alive, more sentient than anything I'd encountered. And it beckoned me closer, filling my senses with an almost intoxicating allure. Suddenly, a hand gripped my arm. I gasped, ready to shout, when I turned to confront my captor, only to be met with a shadow. Not just any shadow, a reflection of a little girl, her eyes wide and unnaturally bright. "You should have listened to the rules. They're here to keep you safe," she whispered urgently. "What do you mean?" I stammered, every muscle tensed. The shadows behind her writhed, as if alive, swallowing any light they could find. "Break one rule, and the ride will stomach you whole," she warned, her tone oddly cheerful yet laced with terror. The shadows moved again, surrounding me. Rushing towards the tunnel felt like a leap into the unknown. Do I dare? I asked myself, heart racing, uncertainty twisting my gut. But what choice did I have? In the echoing distance, laughter twisted into anguish, teasing my senses as I prepared to step inside the dark void, where nothing seemed real and everything felt dangerous. What awaited me beyond the threshold? And could I survive the horrors that lived inside? With one last breath, I plunged into the darkness. The darkness enveloped me like a thick, oppressive blanket. I stumbled forward, each step a cautious exploration of the unknown. Only the faint glow of distant, flickering lights guided my path, casting ominous shadows that danced against the warped walls. I strained my ears to listen, desperate to interpret the chaotic chorus of sounds echoing through the tunnel, laughter mixing with whispers, tinged with something sinister. That I hesitated for a moment, the air thick with a choking tension. "Jessica!" I called again, my voice wavering, desperation creeping into every word. With no response, my heart sank, but I pushed onward, fighting the trepidation that clung to me. The tunnel twisted ahead, forming a dark labyrinth where reality felt thin and haunting. Just as I rounded a bend, something shifted in the shadows. A figure loomed partially obscured, just beyond reach of the weak light. My breath caught, fear crashing over me. "Who is there?" I called, my voice steadier than I felt. Silence hung in the air, heavy and expectant. Then, the figure moved into the faint illumination. I blinked, brain struggling to process the sight before me. It was a mannequin, a life-sized replica of me in a tattered blue jacket, my jacket. I gasped, stepping back, feeling the flutter of panic grow into something more solid. The eyes of the mannequin stared straight through me, a mirror echoing my every semblance of fear. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, hissing softly as if offended by my sudden retreat. My heart raced as I glanced back. Faster than I could manage, the darkness surged forwards around me, swallowing any retreating light. The revelation of the mannequin sank deep, planted like a seed of dread. "This place wants me," I muttered, forming the realization fully. The ride craved to capture me, as it had perhaps captured so many before. Out of sheer instinct, I turned again, pushing toward the deeper throat of the ride. The laughter grew louder, transforming into a cacophony of manic glee, a disturbing amusement. It pulled me, teased me with promises of finding Jessica. I started to sprint, heart pounding in rhythm with my frantic footsteps. Yet, Caution nagged at the back of my mind, something deeper warned me of the lengthening shadows and the darkness that thickened around me. As I sped ahead, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber, concealing a haunting utopia of faded hues and strewn remnants of joy. Stretched before me was a carnival of nightmares, broken Ferris wheels, tattered streamers fluttering in the stale air, and mirrors that distorted every reflection. Faint giggles echoed, merging with the ghostly memories of once bright happiness, now twisted into grotesque forms that I could see other figures, children and adults lost within, performing for an unseen audience, trapped in an endless loop of joyful distortions. Their faces turned slowly, fixed in expressions that spoke of delight, then twisted into horror just as quickly. It was a play, one where the end was never written. "Help me." I heard Jessica's voice piercing through the raucous laughter, loaded with urgency, demanding my focus. "I'm here." I shouted back, but my words lost themselves in the terrifying dance of the carnival, swallowed whole by the grotesque echo. Then, without warning, the ground beneath me lurched. The walls shook violently, as if the ride had suddenly awoken, asserting its dominance over my frail form. "You broke the rules." Voices hissed, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. I staggered, the laughter now morphing into jeers, mocking my every step. My heart pounded as I spied a dim exit over the throng of happy lunatics. If I could reach it, no. What if it was an illusion? But Jessica's cries beckoned me. Fear surged through my veins, forcing me to choose between getting lost in this madness or fighting back from the clutches of despair. Racing toward the exit, I lunged through the fray, the shadows reaching for me like grasping hands. Just as they nearly caught me, I broke free, but at what cost? Did I dare leave Jessica behind? The exit twisted hard, a door to reality almost within reach. My breath grew short as I stumbled. The questions clawed at me: was I abandoning someone I loved, or was I finding the strength to survive? Now, poised at the threshold, the laughter behind me crescendoed into a deafening roar. What lay beyond the door? Could I turn back now without losing everything, or was this the moment I had to confront the truth of the ride? With trembling fingers, I reached for the handle, knowing that whatever lay beyond would change everything, and leave me wondering if I was ready for the consequences. The handle felt cold, sending a shiver up my spine. I steadied my breath, preparing to pull it open, but the laughter erupted behind me, drowning out my thoughts. Frantic voices echoed, twisted and distorted, as if the very walls were mocking me. "You'll never leave," one voice taunted, deep and grating. In that instant, a flicker of doubt coursed through me. What if the exit was another cruel illusion crafted by this malevolent place? What if there was nothing beyond this door but more shadows? Jessica's voice cut through the chaos again, sharp and desperate, igniting a fire of determination within me. "Don't leave me. Please." A surge of regret washed over me. I couldn't face leaving her behind. That thought was unbearable. With a sudden resolve, I grasped the handle and yanked it down with all my strength. The door creaked open to reveal an even deeper darkness, but as I stepped through, the laughter quieted. I blinked, adjusting to the dim ambience. I had entered a room lined with mirrors, each reflecting fragments of my fear. I caught glimpses of myself, pale, wide-eyed, and trembling. In one mirror, Jessica's face appeared, pleading, her eyes filled with terror. "Help me!" she cried, reaching out, but when I turned to look, the image vanished, replaced by my own terrified expression. The air grew thick around me. My pulse thundered in my ears as panic gripped me. I was trapped. The mirrors began to warp like liquid glass, shifting realities and warping perceptions. I saw multiple versions of myself, each one more terrified than the last. I pressed my palms against the nearest mirror, but it felt more like a membrane, cold and pulsing than glass. With sudden force, I backed away, darting toward the next row of mirrors. Each reflection twisted into grotesque figures, mocking my every move. The carnival's laughter swelled again, a savage crescendo. Was it my imagination, or did the shadows claw at the edges of the mirrors, ready to spill out and ensnare me? The specter of doubt settled across my chest as it became clear I wasn't just fighting for Jessica. I was fighting for my own soul, for my sanity. My chest felt tight as I gasped for air. I had to break free, to shatter the illusion before it consumed me whole. "Show yourself!" I yelled, my voice cracking, shaking with anger and fear. "What do you want from us?" As if responding to my challenge, the laughter stopped abruptly. An unnatural silence fell, and I felt a presence looming behind me. I turned slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. Out of the shadows stepped a figure draped in tattered carnival attire, a jester's outfit, its colors stark against the darkness, a twisted smile plastered on its face. "You called?" It intoned, voice dripping with malice. "You're in our world now, and every choice comes at a price. Where's Jessica?" I demanded, battling the urge to flee. It winked, reveling in my distress. "Oh, sweet Jessica is very much here, but what will you sacrifice to find her?" Just then, one of the mirrors shattered with a deafening crack, shards raining down like a storm. I flinched, moving instinctively to shield myself, but the jester was gone, vanished into the swirling shadows. The laughter returned, now a sinister echoing that wrapped around me. Panic surged as I realized what I faced. Each mirror wasn't merely a reflection, but a doorway, a portal filled with the souls of those lost within this nightmare. Their pleading faces appeared, reaching out for escape. Jessica's voice floated again, closer now, more frantic. "You have to choose. Please don't give in." At that moment, I felt also the weight of my decision. Each choice weighed against the delicate balance of life and despair. I took a deep breath, heart racing. I had to confront the jester, to uncover the truth, to save Jessica. With my mind made up, I faced the remaining mirrors, determined to find a way out of this living hell. The moment I reached for another mirror, it glowed an eerie blue. A sensation shot through me, strong and calming, yet filled with dread. Instinctively, I looked into the glass, my heart racing. Knowing it would reveal more than I was ready to handle, what truth awaited me beyond the mirror's surface? The jester might command the chaos, but I had the power to confront it. With resolve, I plunged forward, ready to discover what awaited me in the darkness. The moment my fingers made contact with the cool glass, the mirror pulsed under my touch, sending a jolt through my veins. Everything shifted, and instead of reflections, I was thrust into a swirling vortex of light and shadow. The air around me buzzed with electric tension, swirling like a storm. Flashes of images darted past, faces lost in terror, swirling colors of an endless carnival, and most hauntingly, Jessica's desperate cry echoing through the chaos. "Help me! Don't leave me!" I squeezed my eyes shut, fighting the urge to scream. The energy surged, pulling me deeper, and suddenly I was flung forward, landing hard on a cold, hard surface. The noise of the carnival faded, replaced by a thick, suffocating silence. I opened my eyes to find myself in a desolate hallway, dimly lit by flickering lights overhead that cast erratic shadows on the cracked walls. My heart raced as I pushed my body up and scanned the area. "Jessica." My voice reverberated, swallowed by the stillness. "Where are you?" There was no response, just the thick ambient quiet pressing around me, amplifying every creak of the floor that I stood, feeling the weight of fear settle over me. The hall stretched ahead, endless and twisting like a funhouse. I took a hesitant step forward, each footfall echoing ominously. The air felt heavier here, thick with the scent of rust and something sweetly rotting. Suddenly, a loud crack startled me, as something came crashing down further along the hall. I instinctively jerked back, heart pounding, desperate instinct clawing at me to run. But I couldn't abandon Jessica. Not now. I pressed on, adrenaline pushing me forward. As I approached the source of the noise, I saw it another door, wooden and splintered, slightly ajar. A low whimper escaped from within. Paralysis gripped me as I hesitated, listening, weighing fear against the urgency to rescue her. "Jessica." I called, forcing the name past the lump in my throat. The whimper grew louder, morphing into a desperate plea. "Help, please hurry." I couldn't hold back any longer. I moved toward the door and swung it open wide. The room smacked me with a waft of moldy air. Inside was another warped reality where the walls were covered in mirrors, each reflecting a different version of the horror I'd just witnessed. But the craziest thing? A reflection of Jessica emerged, tied up in dark cords like a marionette, her eyes wide and pleading. "Don't look away!" she shouted, her voice frantic that I swallowed hard. "I'm coming, I'm coming." As I rushed forward, a searing pain shot through my chest. I doubled over, gasping, as a shard of reality splintered from the mirror behind me. I spun around, but it was too late. The jester reappeared, its twisted grin wider than before, eyes glinting with malicious glee. "Oh, you think you can save her?" it said, voice dripping with mockery. "Every action in this world has a consequence." I glared at the jester, rage bubbling inside. "What do you want from me?" "I'll do anything." "Anything," it echoed, savoring the word. "Then choose wisely, dear friend. One of you must remain behind. Will you let her go?" The truth crashed down on me like a tidal wave, the horrible weight of my choice, the betrayal beating in my heart. As the reality around us trembled, both Jessica and I looked at the jester, fear mingling with determination. Just then, the mirrors began to ripple violently. Cracks spiderwebbed across each surface, and screams clamored from within. "Tick-tock, tick-tock." The jester taunted, moving closer. "Time is running out." With the walls quaking, shadows weaved in and around me, pulling at my limbs, urging me to make the choice that terrified me the most. Time hung thick in the air as panic surged through me once more. What kind of choice was this? To save myself or her? And in that moment of despair, a sudden flicker of hope ignited in my chest. I would make a different choice. As the shadows pulled tighter, I took a deep breath, gathering every ounce of courage. "No!" I shouted, standing tall against the jester. "I refuse to let this nightmare tear us apart." But what did that mean? What did it awaken in me? The jester's laughter turned to rage, and the world around me cracked open like glass, revealing a whirlwind of choices, each darker than the last. What lay beyond the veil of darkness? Would I push forward and break the cycle, or succumb to the jester's twisted game? The moment held its breath as I gripped my decision, ready to face whatever came next. The shadows screamed their rage, squeezing tighter around me as I faced the jester. Its grin twisted into something grotesque, a reflection of pure malice. The air crackled with tension, my heart pounded in my chest, hammering against the walls of fear that threatened to swallow me whole. "Every tick of the clock is another piece of your reality crumbling away," it sneered, dark eyes glinting with pleasure. "You're fighting a losing battle, my dear." But I refused to cower. With every ounce of resolve, I pushed back against the shadows, feeling their grip falter just a twitch. "I will not choose between us," I declared, and the words rang louder than the jester's laughter, echoing through this twisted space. The mirror world around me trembled in awe of my defiance, the reflections swirling wildly as if caught in a tempest. I could feel Jessica's presence behind me, her desperate pleas urging me forward. "I'm here, Jessica," I shouted, grounding myself in the gravity of her existence. "Hold on." A shift in the atmosphere prickled at my skin as the jester's laughter softened, morphing into a low growl. "You think you hold power?" The game has just begun. Without warning, the mirrors burst into a kaleidoscope of images, revealing 1,000 versions of myself, each one facing fears, losses, and countless choices. I watched helplessly as one reflection of me crumbled under the weight of his decision. Horror jolted through me. This was a danger far worse than a mere choice. It was about identity. What if I ended up lost in all these shadows? A reflection boxed in despair. "Fight the fear." Jessica's voice pierced through my thoughts. "You have to fight." And that flicker of hope ignited again, brighter this time. I focused on the bonds of friendship, the moments we shared, the laughter echoing from brighter days. I had to harness that light to push through this darkness. "I won't let you win." I shouted, steeling my resolve as a surge of energy pumped through my veins. But the jester sneered again, an unsettling calm sweeping over the room as it raised its hand. If you think you can defy fate, let us make this more interesting. With a snap of its fingers, the walls contracted, tightening like a noose around me. I gasped for breath as the shadows grew denser, their whispers pressing against my ears like 1,000 tiny blades. One of us must pay the price. How noble of you to stand, but will your strength stand the test? Choose. The reflections came alive, darting forward like arrows, encircling me, each a potential path. I could feel their questions wrap around my mind, desperate for answers, pulling at my soul. Then I saw it, the reflection of Jessica, not trapped anymore but reaching for me, a connection thinning the shadows that sought to entrap us both. You're stronger than this. Break the cycle. Suddenly, the weight of the world crashed back down, pushing me to my knees. I gritted my teeth, feeling the edges of my sanity tear apart. All I had ever wanted was to save Jessica, but in this chaos, I could hear another voice, a spark of self-preservation creeping in. What if I chose to save myself? Would Jessica still have a chance, or would I doom us both? No. I roared against the suffocating dark. I choose selfishness. I choose us. The shadows recoiled, surprised by my declaration. The room trembled with unleashed energy, cracking the mirror surface wider, revealing the reality beyond. But what lay there? Could I truly retrieve our futures from this nightmarish plight? The laughter transformed into a howl, resonating off the cracked mirrors. Fool! You seek to defy destiny? Then let us see how far you will fall. And with that, the jester lunged, enveloping me whole into a darkness so complete that the last flakes of light were devoured in an instant. As the weightless void closed around my body, I braced myself for whatever came next. What was the true cost of defiance? And could I save Jessica before it was too late? In the suffocating silence, I felt all hope unravel again. Could it be possible that one choice, no matter how noble, could seal our fates forever? The darkness swallowed me whole. There was no air, no sound, only the oppressive weight of nothingness. I grasped at the void, heart racing, each heartbeat echoing louder than a cannon blast. I was alone, truly alone, adrift in a chasm where time held no meaning and reality blurred. Then, a flicker of light pierced through the dark, no more than a pinprick at first. But it grew, expanding, twisting, filling the emptiness with a hiss of static that thrummed against my very soul. I felt the presence of the shadows clawing at the edges, hungry for my despair. Jessica! I called, my voice ragged, barely a whisper against the void. Silence responded. My stomach churned. I tried to push against the weight surrounding me, but it felt like swimming in molasses. Panic rose like bile in my throat. What had I chosen? The echoes of the jester's laughter reverberated in my mind. Had my defiance not been enough? Out of the swirling darkness, shapes began to coalesce. They were figures, distorted symbols of memories long buried. Friends, family, moments of joy blurred together, morphing into specters that laughed and wept simultaneously. Their faces were familiar, yet somehow wrong, twisted by despair and shadow. Help us, they pleaded, their voices melding in a haunting chorus. I can't, I stammered, grappling with the dilemma that pushed against my chest like an invisible weight. I can't save you if I can't save myself. With that admission, the figures shifted, dissolving into wisps of shadow that lashed at me like raging winds. Coward! They screamed. You would abandon us in your search for self-preservation? No! I shrieked, my panic transforming into blinding fury. I didn't choose this. I didn't want any of this. In that moment, the void exploded. Light burst forth in a blinding flash, consuming the darkness around me. I stumbled forward, overwhelmed, feeling the air rush back into my lungs. But this was not my reprieve. The world shimmered like an oil slick, drenched in distorted colors that flickered and pulsed, that I staggered into a new realm, a twisted reflection of the world I knew. It was an amusement park, a dark carnival filled with the haunting echoes of laughter that curdled into screams. The entrance towered over me, its neon lights flickering ominously, casting grotesque shadows that seemed to dance and mock. A sign loomed large, its letters jagged, "Welcome to the Enigma Fair. Survive the game." What is this? My voice cracked, fear yanking at my gut like a vice. I don't want to play. But the thrill of adrenaline surged through me as the ground quaked beneath my feet and a sinister wind tugged me forward. I could feel it calling, pulling me into the depths of its chaotic content. As I stepped deeper into the fair, I glanced at eerie booths, each more disturbing than the last, a Ferris wheel that spiraled into the sky, where twisted faces stared down in glee, a haunted house with wails of tortured cries, a carousel spinning with figures of despair instead of joy. "Choose wisely, or the shadows will feast," a voice whispered, slithering around me. As my heart raced with simultaneous terror and intrigue, I realized my choices were re-emerging echoes of the reflections haunting me. It was no longer about just saving Jessica, this was a test. Could I navigate this maze of fear and failure? Could I overcome the darkness that threatened to consume not just me, but everyone I loved? With every step into the fair, dread wrapped around me tighter than the shadows had. What if my choices led me deeper into the clutches of despair? A whisper of movement caught my attention, and something flickered in my peripheral vision, a familiar silhouette. Jessica. I turned, hope blooming briefly in the pit of my stomach. But was that truly her, or another twist in this game? Would I have the strength to confront the truths that awaited me? The jester's words echoed as I gripped the edge of uncertainty. The game was far from over, but this time, the stakes were higher than ever. What would I sacrifice to reclaim the light? The air was thick with a strange electricity, sounds swirling around me like a tempest. I pushed forward, mind racing, heart pounding in rhythm with the erratic flickers of light. Was that really Jessica? The silhouette danced in and out of view, always just out of reach, taunting me. Jessica! I shouted again, desperation slicing through the noise. The laughter echoed again, but now it was mocking, like 1,000 voices fused into one. Ahead, the path forked into two half-lit avenues. One direction led deeper into the heart of the haunting carousel, illuminating empty mounts that beckoned me closer with eerie charm. The other twisted toward a shadowy maze lined with mirrors that shimmered like quicksilver, each reflecting warped images of fear, doubt, and loss. Choose, the voice whispered again, hanging in the charged air, curling around my throat like a noose. My breath quickened. I could feel the shadows writhing atop my skin, each one wrapped tight with memories I'd rather forget. Faces I failed to save. Moments I took for granted. The price of selfishness echoed louder than ever. I hesitated. The carousel had its allure, the cheerful lights, the haunting melody that echoed softly. But the maze. It called to me, promised a confrontation with what lay buried deep inside. Anxiety ripped through me, binding me with invisible threads of doubt. Choose. A thunderclap shook the air, sending jolts of fear racing through my veins. I plunged toward the maze, heart hammering. As I stepped onto the cobblestone path, the mirrors loomed around me, dark and ominous, shifting through jagged reflections that flickered like ghostly apparitions. Each step felt like stepping into a memory I hadn't wished to relive. The first mirror shimmered. My reflection stared back at me, but something was off. My eyes, once bright with hope, were clouded and heavy, burdened by the weight of choices I had made. Shadows danced around my shoulders, whispering dark secrets. Face the truth, a voice hissed, serpentine. Before I could react, the mirror rippled, and suddenly, I was standing in a memory that wasn't mine. An old friend's gathering replayed a happy day, light-hearted laughter echoing in the background. But then, the laughter broke like glass. My friend's face flickered, morphing into despair, a painful realization etched deep in their eyes. Why didn't you help? The words cut through the memory like a knife, echoing in my mind like a funeral dirge. No. That's not fair. I yelled, desperation clawing at my throat. I stumbled back, circling around to find another mirror, but the dark laughter followed me. Each reflection confronted me with betrayal and fear, tearing at the boundaries of who I thought I was. Jessica, I murmured, closing my eyes against the torrent of pain slicing through my mind. I couldn't leave her behind. Not again. With sheer determination, I lunged for the next mirror. This time, I saw her, trembling and afraid. But the scene unraveled quickly, revealing a past I had tried to bury. You were always too afraid to choose. To save me, the accusation cut deep. The flames of guilt ignited in my chest, burning brighter and hotter with each word, smothering my resolve. I won't let you drown in despair, I shouted, fueled by newfound rage. Not now. Not ever. And just like that, the mirror shattered, shards flying through the air, fizzling against the darkness surrounding me. But the shadows grew thicker, more insistent. Searing pain coursed through my mind, blurring the line between reality and the nightmarish carnival. I heard her voice again, faint but clear. Help me, was it a mirage? My mind twisted, and my pulse thundered in my ears. Could I navigate this twisted maze of reflection? Was I strong enough to unearth my past and save her from the shadows clawing at her light? As the air crackled around me with potential, a frigid panic settled in my stomach. Choose, the voice echoed around me, laughter flaring up from the darkness, as if the fair itself bore witness to my turmoil. I felt the weight of every choice, every moment unborn or lost, bearing down on my shoulders. Would I find the courage to confront my fears and finally make a choice that mattered? In this maze of horrors, time was slipping away. The shadows were hungry. What path would I take next? The echoes of laughter twisted around me, merging into a single, haunting sound that gnawed at my resolve. I pressed deeper into the maze, the mirrors closing in as they whispered my doubts. Each step sent shivers down my spine like icy hands grasping at my heart. One decision lay ahead, a choice that could unravel everything. Help me, Jessica's voice cut through the chaos, sharper now. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I refused to let the shadows consume her. I steeled myself for what came next. I stepped toward the broken world behind each mirror, no longer filled with fear but with a resolve fueled by love. The first reflection showed an unforgiving slog through my past. Faces of friends haunted me with reminders of failures, a spinning carousel of sadness. Yet, within the voices of those I had let down was also the strength that had once connected us. No more. I screamed, summoning my strength. I had lost enough before. The air pulsed around me, shrinking and growing heavy as the shadows swirled. But I wouldn't stop. I reached for the next mirror, the cracked surface shimmered and morphed. A scene unfolded of Jessica and I, laughing, carefree. But it soon shifted into a moment I wished I could forget, the day I hesitated, the day I could have reached out but didn't. You hesitated, the echoes of my past whispered, and left me alone. It was never about you. I shouted, raw and furious. It's about us. But the truth stung harder. I had lingered in my own fears, allowing doubt to chain me down while she was fighting her own battle. With newfound determination, I advanced. This ends now. I lunged for the next mirror, hands shaking but heart steady. My fingers grazed the cold surface, and the reality behind it warped and twisted violently. I leaped inside, the world spinning around me, colors spiraling until they formed a door. The door swung open, and there Jessica stood, bound by dark vines, its suffocating coils spiraling around her, pulling her toward an abyss. Her eyes were wide, shining with fear but also hope, pleading for me to break through. Let go. A voice around me trailed, soft yet menacing. Choose, or she disappears. I won't choose, I countered defiantly, channeling every ounce of love I had for her. I choose all of us. I choose to save both of us. The shadows writhed in rage. Fool! You cannot defy fate. They shrieked, their claws reaching for me. But I forged through, wrapping my fingers around the darkness binding her. Jessica! I shouted, a burning determination lighting my soul. Together! And I pulled, the shadows recoiled, shrieks reverberating as cracks spider-webbed out from where I grasped her. I could feel their icy tendrils loosening around her, the dark vines snapping one by one under the weight of our shared strength. No! The jester's voice echoed in panic, a pitch that scraped against my resolve. You cannot. You don't control the game. But I did control it. For the first time, I gripped the reins of my own destiny. We are not your pawns. I yelled, the shadows bucking violently. With one last surge, I yanked Jessica free, and the shadows dissolved with a deafening screech, a surge of light erupting where darkness had once thrived. As she tumbled into my arms, we fell backward, the world collapsing around us. The cacophony of the carousel, the haunting laughter, all retreated like whispers on the wind. When we stood up, the thick darkness opened into a star-speckled sky, branches of trees sprawling above us, the park bright and alive once more. No more twisted laughter. The horrors of the night faded to memories pulled away like fog. Jessica! I breathed, relief flooding me. Are you okay? She nodded, tears shimmering in her eyes. But what now? Her gaze darted back to where shadows twisted, sparks of darkness vanishing. That I looked at the park. We stepped forward. Together. Together, we stepped into the light, arms linked, moving toward an exit that was once hidden behind the darkness. What had tethered us before now became a bond of unbreakable strength. There would be no more shadows swallowing our laughter, each day would become a choice filled with light. And as we walked onward, each breath felt like reclaiming life itself. When we reached the gates, I turned back for one last glimpse at the dark amusement park that had held us captive. We'll remember, I whispered, and Jessica squeezed my hand. But we're stronger now. As the world brightened around us, the echoes of laughter transformed into cheers of victory. The shadows dissolved, taking with them fears that once trapped us. We had emerged from the depths, and as the warmth of dawn brushed against our faces, we reminisced about our journey, whispers of the past cradling us like a soothing lullaby. Promise, I said, resolving to embrace every moment. We choose each other. Always. And with that promise, we stepped into the new day, heart and soul intertwined, leaving the darkness behind as we forged our futures unhindered. Now, the real game begins. Living unafraid and free. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next adventure. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to supercharge the algorithm. There's more thrilling content coming to your screens. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Jessica and my journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's lift each other up.